Okay. It's processing.
Okay.
Live.
Hello and welcome to Dam Removal Europe's second live event. This event is made possible by European Open Rivers Programme. This afternoon, we are joined by Owen Concannon. He's a project officer at Evenlode Catchment Partnership, and he will guide us through the process of weir removal near Milton Under Wychwood. Welcome, Owen.
Hello, Nessa. How you doing?
Good. I see the weather is not the best. I hope it doesn't start raining while we have this live interview.
Yes, I have to return to my car if that happens, but it's very, very drizzly, so I'm hoping it won't be too much of a downpour. So far, so good.
Super. Let's dive right in. So tell us a little bit how, what you work exactly, what organization you work for, and how did your organization get involved with barrier removal in the first place?
Yeah, so I'm working for the Evenlode Catchment Partnership. The Catchment Partnership is a local NGO that's working to restore the river catchment of the Evenlode to good ecological status, which people might know from the WFMF directive, which is probably not going to be used in England in the next few years, unfortunately, but very much similar aims to that. The Catchment Partnership got involved in fish passage a few years ago. We made, well, before I started, there was catchment plans created, and fish passage was one of those objectives because there are several barriers to fish migration on the catchment. And also the Environment Agency have priorities to get these barriers addressed and measures implemented.
Yeah. Could you show us around and explain where you are and what? So where was the weir and what has changed since the removal?
Sure thing. Let me just switch my camera over. So this is the site after removal. So the removal took place about 2 weeks ago. So if you guys can see my finger, the weir used to be roughly around here. The weir was about 1 meter in height and 4 meters in width. So it was quite a small weir. But nonetheless, we got the machines on site a couple of weeks ago. They came in and got the work done. So yes, this is how it looks afterwards. So looking much more like a nice natural river compared to what it was beforehand. So very happy to have the project completed.
Super. So why exactly you chose this weir to be removed? Is there any specific reason?
Yeah. Well, this one was what we call low-hanging fruit. It was quite an easy one because the landowner was quite keen. It was small. There wasn't much conflicts in terms of infrastructure or amenities, so it was a nice one to do. Yeah, so the risks were minimal, and also degradation to hydromorphology is the second biggest pressure to river catchments after eutrophication. So these measures are very important to get implemented to help return rivers to good ecological status.
Yeah, and could you tell us what steps did you have to take in order to finally remove a barrier? So I assume it was quite a lengthy procedure-wise process.
Yeah, so there's a range of steps involved in these projects, and they do take time. I suppose initially we have to engage with the landowner to make sure that they're okay for the project. That is a first one and always a very important one. As I said, thankfully the landowner was quite keen. He actually didn't know it was on his land, so that was interesting. But nonetheless, he was very interested to do the project. After that, there was a consultation with local ecologists and contractors to talk about the project and get their input for best practice. As well as that, I had to secure finance. So many thanks to Open Rivers Programme, who were very receptive to the project and granted us money to carry out the project. After that, there was also some baseline monitoring that I completed. The Environment Agency have done some fish surveys recently, so there was no need for our project to do that. But I did carry out river morphology surveys before the project, so we can measure what kind of uplift there has been in the project. And after that, it was just about managing the contractors to come and get the project done. So yeah, they're not straightforward. They take time. I would have liked to get the project done earlier, but we had a very wet winter, so that didn't mean access was very good. So yes, they take time, but hopefully that will give us more time for the next projects that we're looking at.
Yeah, weather conditions are very important when it comes to barrier removals, and sometimes, we need to delay these actions on the ground. So can you tell us what benefits do you expect from this removal on fisheries? Sedimentation, was that an issue, and water quality nonetheless?
Yes, so there will be an impact. There will be a positive impact to fish because the barrier is no longer in their way. There will be several miles of passage downstream, so that's going to be interesting. There may be a benefit to water quality, but unfortunately, we have significant issues with pollution upstream. So there will be a small impact to water quality, but I have noticed that the water is looking much more clear, even though it's not fully clear, than it was before the project. So that has meant that the sediment has been remobilized and the natural processes are taking part in the river. So that is quite helpful. I think the main improvements would be the hydromorphology. So if you can see my camera here, this is my favorite part of the project. This is the river flowing much more naturally. It's has some nice channel sinuosity, so the river is a bit more bendy than it was beforehand, and we have some nice rocks and boulders here that were actually left on site, and that was allowed on our permits. So yes, I think the hydromorphology would be the main benefit, as well as the fish passage. In terms of safety, I don't think there's many problems here with safety because the land is privately owned. There's no amenities around here, and it's not close to any infrastructure or anything like that. So there shouldn't be any problems with safety after this project.
Yeah, and then a question that I really like personally. So could you highlight any lesson you've learned through this process and something that will be really useful for our audience?
Yes, I think there's always lessons to be learned after these projects, but I suppose the main ones I have would be to always engage stakeholders in these projects. There's a lot of experts and people who have experience in these projects, so it's very important to get their input. So that ranges from the landowner to the Environment Agency to local ecologists and even local fishing clubs, because they can all give good input for the project, and their support is always welcome for these kind of projects. Other than that, I would say it's my lesson would be to always keep up to date with the latest science. There's lots of good research been done in recent years about dam removals and their benefit. I was lucky enough to join some conferences hosted by Dam Removal Europe a few years ago. They were excellent, very informative, and they're good because they can really give you confidence for these projects. People may be aware, but weirs have been around for a long time in the UK, so they're very much ingrained into society. So people have lived by weirs, their parents have, their grandparents. So just needs to be careful when you mention removal, because it can be quite, as you can imagine, a little bit scary for people because they're not used to the river without a weir. So that's why the science is great, so that we can kind of back up what we're doing and show that there's a lot of benefits to these projects. And yeah, I suppose another lesson I learned is that removals aren't always straightforward. Not for this project, but other projects we are looking at, there's other considerations. So they need to be done with very careful design, because if some weirs are removed, they can have problems because for example, in the Evenlode, we have a catchment that has been very straightened and over deepened over time. So removals can exacerbate flood risks downstream. So we have to be very careful with removals and make sure that they're designed to a T, so that we can minimize risks and eliminate them where possible. But those are some of them anyway. I'm sure I'll have more, but I can't think of them right now.
Yeah, and do you have more of such low weirs in the area or the wider region? So do you have any more plans? I'm asking now in terms of replicability of the project. So do you have more plans to removals?
Yes, we'd like to do more removals. There's 3 more major barriers downstream of here, where the river meets the Big River Thames. We're looking at a rock ramp further downstream. Removal may not be possible here because of infrastructure and local communities, so that will help to please all the parties. But further downstream from that, we have a flow gauging weir. The Environment Agency on it, and that is actually causing a barrier to fish migration and especially eels, which is a little bit ironic, but unfortunately that's the case. So there may be scope for a kind of technical fish pass there. But yeah, there's one more not far from that, and I think a removal might be possible there. So in talking with some EA Environment Agency colleagues, there may be some potential to remove another barrier. We have many barriers in the tributaries as well, but we don't have a particular focus on them right now because the ones on the main river are, I think, of a priority to help get as many species into the catchment and, help improve the hydromorphology.
Yeah.
But yes, lots of scope, lots of scope.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, UK is removing barriers on quite regular basis. So last year we recorded 36 removals. So do you think that's enough? Or if not, what could help speed up the process?
I think 36 is far better than none. So that's good. In terms of speeding them up, I would say that I think core funding to local NGOs and catchment partnerships is very important because I think catchment partnerships are in a kind of unique position where we can really engage on the ground, talk to landowners, and do things on the ground to make things happen. Because unfortunately, Environment Agency, while they're incredibly talented people, they don't have the resource as they used to. So NGOs can come in and fill that gap. So I really like to see more core funding for catchment partnerships so we can continue our work and not rely on specific grants. So that would be excellent. As well as that, I think landowner engagement is always important for these projects. I think about 75% of land in Oxfordshire is privately owned. So very important to make sure that they're included and involved throughout the whole process of these kind of projects. Finance is also a problem, but thanks to Open Rivers Programme, we have a lot of potential to secure money for these projects. It's definitely a positive thing. And I suppose lastly, there is some small worries with landowners and certain parties about removals. So I think it's really important that we have good scientific assurances on risks and implications because, as I said, people are used to weirs, they've never seen rivers without them, so there really needs to be assurance that these schemes won't have any detrimental impacts and actually show that they have a lot of benefits compared to barriers. So, yes, lots of things to be done.
Thank you so much, Owen. It didn't rain, so that's...
Yes, that was great.
Thank you so much again. And for you viewers that are following this discussion, if you want to know more about Owen and how he came to be involved in barrier removal, head to damremoval.eu and read the interview with him. So you can find the link in the description below. And thank you so much for joining in today and hope to see you next time.